Yes, we are.
I've seen how they take things down in this game, and holy Jesus.
Well, we started with a little bit of technical fuckery. Uh, Hello, everyone. Uh, I totally didn't forget to connect my microphone to the game, to OBS or anything.
You
And
know, yeah, I understand.
and indeed, we have Tex with us. Hello, Tex.
Howdy. I'm the gunsmith for this evening or morning or wherever you are, and I just want to say very clearly that I in no way endorse any of the things being done here because I understand how this works and I'm very tired and I've broken hands from doing it. So, yeah, I will probably be losing my shit. Oh, that's a nice mill. Oh man, we can't go back to that.
Oh, we can go back to the mill.
Apparently I'm very, very quiet.
All right, let me
don't
turn you
know.
up.
Yeah, turn me up all the way.
I have turned you up in Discord to 200%.
Okay,
OBS
is that supposed to be? Is that a 5-axis mill?
It's a magic
let's see.
mill.
Okay, I was gonna say like that's all right.
It's looks it's supposed to be. Oh, sorry, I should say that. It looks like a 5-axis mill from what I've seen.
Well, it doesn't look like anyone I've ever seen in a gun shop because all of them are broken and most of them are made from about a 5-axis mill in a gun place is going to be made from 5 different 5-axis mills. It's going to be a patchwork at best.
Oh, Tex, you haven't seen the best part of this mill. It has loaded within it.
Oh, so I just press the machine gun button and machine gun comes out.
It has G code loaded for all these machines. If I want to make a STG-44 trigger lever, I just press the trigger lever button and it has the G code for the trigger lever.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Like, okay, are you making that out of billet? Or, I mean, because typically some of these parts are MIM or whatever. They can be additive manufactured even. Like a lot of modern Smith & Wessons are. They have MIM parts, which some people, metal injection molding. A lot of people hate those. If they're made right and hardened right, MIM parts are indestructible. If they're made wrong, they're like Play-Doh.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really cool about MIM parts, and this is just, I'll be snapping off Texisms and gunsmithing knowledge as I go along. But what's interesting with MIM parts is like, go back and look at that trigger, if you will, because I'm going to show you something. Now, you're an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
You know a lot about engineering, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at that trigger. What do you think is the failure point in longevity? What is the failure point on that? Just that piece of metal?
Say around here, around this pivot.
Right.
Here.
Because you have to drill a hole through something, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be tensioned by a spring on either side, a reset spring and a mainspring, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a lot of pressure. And you have in engineering this bending point, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So those little eyelets are a very fragile point. MIM parts allow you, instead of having to drive that through it and put a pin through it, to make it all as one part. So the pin is part of the trigger. And that's really, really smart stuff because then you remove the weak point. So like if you look at old Smith & Wessons, especially through the 60s and the Dan Wesson era of QC, you'll find that a lot of them are, you look at the hammer, you'll find there is an eyelet, a hole drilled through it, and then you have the hammer pin drive through that. Well, the hammer is a high impact area, right? And every time something impacts, it's creating micro fractures.
Right.
That will eventually eat through that and break the hammer. The newer stuff has found ways of removing that, so there are fewer and fewer and fewer parts that require that input. So MIM parts are kind of the way of doing this.
Yeah, it's so at work we've been getting into a lot more additive manufacturing, and it's precisely for that reason. Is one, you can reduce the number of parts, so that just means from an inventory standpoint, your warehouse space is less.
Oh, certainly. And when you get into a gun, you'll think all the pins are the same size and you can go fuck yourself. That's not true. They look the same size, but they're not. And so if you have a hammer, it's not just a hammer. You have to have a hammer spring, hammer pin, all of these things. If you can make it all one part, you don't. And that's really sexy when it comes to, because it's less part spins. Yep. It's less that can run out and bottleneck what you're doing.
Yep.
And so the other thing is that, as Chad has pointed out, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm milling an MP44. I'm sorry, but that's a receiver flat. It's a tube gun by any other means. It's just like the AK in that sense. You take a flat piece of metal, you stamp it to have all the receiver features you need, and then you fold it over, weld, and pin it, right? Mm-hmm. It's if you mill that out, you can do that. There are milled AKs. Currently, the Bulgarian AKs are hot hammer forged milled receivers. AKs are fine with milled receivers. The problem is it's like back in the day, when someone has to run a mill by hand, that's hard to teach and hard to get that consistently good. Stamping is easy.
Yeah, and stamping is much faster.
Well, yeah, because I can just go and it just infinite stampings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've had some people argue longevity. They're going, well, if you stamp it, it's only good for about 300,000 rounds. And I'm like, okay. The thing is if you have a bad stamping and the stamping's bad and the gun falls out of spec like AKs do, because I can talk about the AK bell curve all day. That is something most people don't know about AKs. But if it falls out of spec and all the parts get stretched and whatever, you can literally break the gun parts down, take another receiver, and reassemble an AK, and it's new.
So,
okay, this is accurate. Most gunsmiths spend a lot of their time now on weird repair stuff on various websites, interacting with lunatics who purchase large bulk orders of these parts when they were made. And the parts may have only been made for like 2 or 3 years by some second or third party manufacturer, or a bunch of guns got destroyed. So there's just piles of parts. Like I can point to a lot of websites that have cut down, ATF cut machine guns, everything else. You buy all those parts in bulk, and then you have these parts bins that are just labeled hilariously because it's 10,000 different, signatures and handwriting and everything else. And it's like, you have something in cursive and people say, what's that? And you go, oh, I bought all the Matiba spare parts from a guy who tried to set up a Matiba shop and went out of business. And so you end up as that guy. And in the gunsmithing world, they're like, oh, call that Matiba guy. He's got all the parts. Or I myself have a Thompson submachine gun. Well, I have a lot of other stuff, but I have a Thompson submachine gun. I have 2 spare barrels. I have original drums. I have original magazines. And then I have piles of parts that were bought from former military surplus people that just said, what the fuck do I do with these 20 springs? I'll take them.
Yeah. If they break, you have the parts to fix them.
Like you have to do that. I think the most valuable thing in that shop isn't that mill. I think it's that Wagoneer right there. Let's do a walk around that Wagoneer, please. I think that's a lot more important. Well, once you unbox whatever.
I have to unbox this. The game won't let me advance without unboxing.
All right.
So there's...
Oh, wow. It looks like one of them rust channels that's not really fixing anything, but put sugar rust on stuff and then blasts it off with solvent and goes, see, I restored it.
Yep, you're not wrong. Well...
I've seen so many of those, and they're like, look at this thing I found in the Black Lagoon. And it's like,
to me, okay. Whenever I see
that's new.
And whenever I see those channels, I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. And then I look at what they're restoring, like, how did the rubber rust?
Exactly. And that's what I'm pointing out. That was done very quickly. But no, let's look at this Wagoneer here.
This is the Getting wagon. If we need to go on and get.
But look how shiny, new and complete, and just unfucked it is.
Yeah.
This is worth more than anything in the shop.
I mean, probably. I do love the wooden panels.
No, what I'm saying is you look at it and you're like, it's so, like, the whole frame is straight.
The frame is
It's
straight. There's no corrosion on the chrome.
wheel wells. Oh yeah, like this vehicle is arguably nicer than any inventory you have right now.
Yeah, probably. Also, there's a few things in here for if we need to make a quick getaway, which it won't let me
Uh-huh.
open. You need to finish working on the gun. Okay.
What is
But
it, like 20 Krugerrands and an AK that's been cut down to fit in a briefcase?
no, I mean you can see the case in there.
Ah, okay, got it.
So that's the case. It won't
The
let me leave.
Chaos Kid.
It won't let me leave. It's like you must finish the work. So we have this, the mill, the magic mill. We have this to for the bore sight, a little laser.
That's a ransom rest. That's a ransom rest. That's what that's called.
Okay.
In gunsmithing, when you need to accurize something and prove it, first of all, I'm never going to shoot at something that close because there's this thing called fucking ricochets. Secondly, I mean, good God, because why? But what a ransom rest is it ensures essentially locking down all the mechanical contacts with a rifle that could be done possible to prove an absolute minute of arc, which is that if you need to know what minute of arc is, I'm sure you know, but for the audience out there that doesn't, if you shine a flashlight on the wall, you'll notice the beam as it goes out disperses and gets wider, right? Bullets do the same thing because if photons are going to get moved by gravity and everything else, so's a bullet. So that circle as you go out is called a minute of arc, and it is calculable. You can actually prove a mechanical dead rest 0, which is a ransom rest, bolted down. Also, you never want to put that on a fucking, like, look at the table. Look down. Is that table bolted into the floor? Is that driven and sunk into the floor?
Nope. It is
Because that is not a ransom rest. If you have to have that shit welded or concreted down because there has to be 0 mechanical movement. And once you do that and use controlled circumstances, controlled ammunition, you can say bore cold MOA, bore warm MOA, bore hot MOA, because metal expands and all these other things. And it goes on and on and on. So use a ransom rest to prove an absolute 0 MOA of what this thing looks like under perfect controls. The problem is there's a lot of people who buy guns on that number and don't realize if you hold it in your hands, which are not as steady as welded steel and concrete,
right.
you're not going to get that MOA, no matter how good you are.
Yeah. I am an amateur. I have. If you were to hand me a firearm, 90% of the time I will know which end must be pointed in a safe direction at all times.
Good. That's a really good. That's my favorite kind of student who realizes these things do bite people. That's actually really, really good.
Thank you. So I am like tra-la-lying through this, and I'm sure like I'm just gonna like text is just slowly gonna get angrier and angrier. And hello chat, hello Bionic, thank you Striker.
All right.
hello,
Oh,
Dex.
cool.
You have a late.
What am I? Oh yeah, you're gonna turn some barrels and such if you need to. But well, okay. Does this game make you turn from blanks and shoulder and contour?
No, barrels you have to purchase.
Thank God. Okay, that'll take some stress out of this because I won't flip my shit as much. Because like the thing is when you buy a barrel, typically it's going to be pre-populated. It's going to be hammer forged and all that other stuff. It's going to have the lands and grooves cut, button broach rifling, whatever you want. Correct twist rate, all those other things. That's exactly as it should be. But it is also the blank. It is essentially being sent by the factory in one diameter, which will not fit on any rifle comfortably. So what you have to do is contour and shoulder it to fit within the rifle. And that can be a bastard because you'll be sitting there doing it and it has to be done right. You can't put that metal back.
Right. Yeah. No, you can always take a layer off. You can never put a layer back on.
I have heard this in a gun shop, and I'm not joking. And I quote, "I have cut 3 times and it's still too short."
I mean, yes. That tracks with my understanding of physics. So, but yeah, okay. So Stryker says this is an old ass lathe. Yes, this is an old ass lathe, and personally, I would rather, if I'm hand machining, I would rather machine on this old ass lathe than on some newer
Well,
lathe.
most gunsmiths will try to buy older lathes, and one of the really popular options, if you can go get onto it, one of the really popular options, and I love how a Stryker's like, that's a lie, that's a fucking lie. You just need to add a can of Adathau. No. But one of the things that's actually kind of interesting is one of the really highly prized lathes, believe it or not, and milling machines and whatever, is former East German equipment. Because the East German equipment was designed to work both imperial and metric.
Okay.
So what you can do, because they would import whatever or steal whatever, and you can use both. And so when you have this old, really robust stuff that's easy to fix and like simple as a tractor, but can also interchange easily, and cut a 14-1 like you have on an AK, or a 5 3/8 like you have on an AR-10 for muzzle devices. Those are thread pitches, by the way. You find that there is a great advantage to be able to check it over to the Cyrillic side and get what you want. And I also think that manual lathes are great, because once you punch to an automated lathe and it's on a program, if you fucked up, it's too late. Mm-hmm. But on this, you have to do every step at a time very deliberately. And if at any point you start cutting and go, wait, you can back it off.
Yep. Yep.
And it's a manual back off. It's quite useful.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh shit, the programmed cut is this and it's wrong, and you hit the stop and it still runs through its program line or stops. That varies based on the manufacturer, or it'll just wind down where you hit stop and you have a very marred cut because all this has to run at speed. But on this thing, you can keep it at speed on your foot pedal and just roll the thing back and look at it.
Yep.
And then you can decide what you're doing. So it doesn't rush you to act as equipment goes. It's just all slow and steady at your own pace. The problem is doing things manually. No two things will turn out the same.
Yeah, that is okay. That's fair. For me personally, right? Because the thing I really like about these older lathes is if I have a design in my head, I can very easily put it to steel myself, or titanium or aluminum, whatever.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than like having to sit and like program. Like if it goes to mass production, yeah, I'll sit down and figure out the G code and all that crap. Well, not me, the experts will do it.
Well, sure, yeah. Get the SME who has the book.
Yeah. Like here's the part, here's the 3D models, here's the 2D drawings, G code, please. So. Anyway,
and it's all right. So let's look at this guy here.
So we have
let's see what we got.
It says leave the table.
Okay.
Yes, it's saying we need to clean the parts, clean them with a rag. This seems reasonable.
A rag.
A cleaning rag with gun lubricant and gun cleaner.
Well, actually, what you're going to do is you need to find out, like typically when I have something like this come in the shop, I'm going to look at it and say, is this big rust or small rust, right? Mm-hmm. And a little oily cloth actually goes a long way, because you don't know what's dirt, what's patina, what's rust.
Right.
But one of the things I typically do, which horrifies people when they see it, is, there's steel wool, right? Mm-hmm. Well, steel wool has different softnesses. And people don't realize that. There's steel wool that is so fine it's soft like cotton. So what you do is you get something that is softer than the surface of the gun, but still harder than the rust. You add a lot of oil, like penetrative oil, mm-hmm. and you bathe this stuff in it, and you just scrub, spray. And if you keep doing that, you will get all the stuff off that's lighter than the actual steel of the gun, and you can see what you're looking at. Also, depending on sandblasting medium.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, so that's a bad idea. Because here's the thing, when you run one of these grinders and you haven't checked the brush, because there's brushes that are good for grinding off rust, patina, and whatever, and they won't harm steel, but they'll get it warm enough to fuck the temper.
Yeah. Yeah. And tempering is one of those, like, I know in my head how to do it. Am I going to try it? Absolutely not.
No, the other problem is, hot metal and cold metal look exactly alike.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure
and you learn that once. The other thing with these grinders is typically in a good gun shop that uses these like well, and actually has people doing it by hand and not with a tool, like doing it badly. You're going to look behind the grinder. Like if you look up right now behind the grinder, you will find a series of marks in the wall from parts. And then you will find, if it's a good gun shop, the master smith will make them initial those holes. Because anytime there's someone new, you point to that corner and you're like, see all those signatures? Don't be those guys.
Yeah, don't lose hold of the part. Or do lose hold of the part. Don't try and hold on to it if you've really screwed it up, and like drag your hand into this and learn what degloving means.
Well, a lot of those brushes in a shop are actually just going to be really incredibly stiff, like nylon.
Okay.
Because you run it at a high RPM, and you just want to like fleck off stuff that's dirt, patina, whatever. You don't want to actually affect the metal whatsoever.
Right.
And it just depends on what you got. You don't want to take a actual grinding wheel to something that's like a watch. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I love that there's just generic wood oil, because that's insane.
It's rifle wood oil. Also,
no.
On the
So
left,
what?
We have
wood stain.
Stain, comma,
all right.
Wood.
Yeah, that's the wrong way to do it. But okay, so the other thing is, like, sandblasting is underrated, and sandblasting is one of those things where you can remove a lot without damaging anything, without raising its temperature, without changing its shape. And all you have to do is find a medium, again, that's hard enough to knock patina and rust off, but light enough to not like mar the steel. And that's the real thing. Now, when it comes down to wood, if it's fucked, I like to use Formby's, which is wood polisher refinisher, is basically acetone. And you're going to bleach all of that wood by removing the stain, the lacquer, the dirt, anything that's gotten baked into it. And then you have to let it dry, and then you have to see if it's going to warp or anything, because changes in humidity, because it's now bare wood. And then you have to reintroduce that water to it, because wood has memory. So if you don't want to drop it in water, but you get a wet rag and you wipe it down until it's soaking, and then you leave it out. And you'll notice that all of those wood fibers and burrs start to drink that wood in that's been lost over the course of time. And you make sure it's in an environment where it doesn't get moldy, obviously. This has to be a bit controlled. But as that wood starts to plump up and reform its shape from being damaged, you then can sand it back to the correct shape. And you keep doing that until it seems to hold its shape. Then you introduce tung oil, which actually gets into the fibers of the wood and makes it strong and resilient again.
Okay.
So there's a very stepped process for wood restoration. And in gunsmithing, I know a lot of people who get really, don't do it like that. Oh, okay. It doesn't just screw in. Okay, well, it does, but it won't fit. So the thing is that a lot of the stuff is crush fit, especially on older guns. You have to heat the frame until it expands. And then you roll it in, and then you quench it. And not only is it now like welded into the threads, but it prevents it from walking out, because now it's too small to turn.
Right. It's friction fit.
Right. That's a lot of old guns are.
Yeah. I was watching a Drakenfell who was talking about how battleship guns were made. And they were made similarly.
They're built up. It's like it's built up like a layered cake.
Yeah.
It's just this folds into that, and friction and weight hold them in place. But the other thing is, battleship guns are designed to be, you need to replace barrel sleeves. You need to actually, work these things. Now, here's how you know this is this is the one thing Gunsmithing Simulator does not tell you. Everything you have just done to that Colt to make it a functional, safe, and reliable firearm, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've just destroyed its value if it's an original.
How's that?
Untouched, as is with patina, they are worth 10 times more.
Oh, because I took all the patina off.
You took the age off. It's just another single action army now. There was a really good story that went around in gunsmithing circles some time ago. If you work in guns or you buy ammo or what have you, that's not how you time it. God damn it. So when you work in guns, you'll be familiar with a term called primers. And there's boxer primers and there's Berdan primers and there's all these other things. Well, Berdan was also a gun maker for the Russian Imperial State. And with Berdan as a gun maker for the Russian Imperial State, they equipped a lot of the Tsar's armies in the 1840s, 50s, and so on. Berdan rifles even served as late as World War I. What's crazy is that there was a guy who had a Berdan rifle, and he got it and it was covered in all black paint. And he thought, some idiot painted this black. So he removed it and restored the wood. It goes in the gun shop, right?
Mm-hmm.
The gun shop, it goes in there, and they start looking at the Berdan rifle, and they go, oh, wow, that's interesting. What's this little bit of black paint there? And the guy goes, oh, well, it was painted black, and I removed it. So the gunsmith, who actually knows about Berdan rifles, comes up and says, you removed the black paint? And he goes, yes. And he goes, the black paint was added during the siege of Crimea. It would have marked this rifle as belonging to the specific unit. And the guy goes, oh. And he goes, they don't make this paint anymore, and they don't make this rifle anymore. And he goes, right. And he goes, it was worth $20,000. Now it's worth $700,000. So consult with a gunsmith before fucking anything up. Oh, rusty trigger and a Mosin. I could fix that in an hour.
All right. Well, let's get this, and then we're gonna
yep.
look at what's in the Gettin car, the Gettin truck.
Okay, RPG. Okay, yep. Do you have any rockets for it, like PG-7Vs, PG-7V-75s? What are we looking at?
Well, if I put it in the case, you'll see there's a rocket in there.
Okay, that looks like PG-7V-75. That's the upgrades they made in the 70s to actually kind of deal with advances in American armor. And it's kind of what you associate with a standard RPG. I'd have to actually look at the fusing to tell you when it was made, but it kind of looks like one of the Romanian models just from this.
Okay. There's some text on the front, which I cannot see.
Don't worry about it.
But yeah, this is the Gettin car.
I'm sure it's based off the Airsoft one, but yeah, it's quite fine. Let's play with Mosins. Mosins are wonderful for one reason. If you know nothing about gunsmithing, you don't actually need tools, because everything that comes with the Mosin are all the parts you need to take it apart. There's a reason why Soviet bayonets have a flathead screwdriver on the end of them, and it's not for stabbing people, it's to actually take the gun apart. So everything, including a part of the bolt, is used to remove it. Don't remove the sights first. Oh my God, it makes you do that. That's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah. Don't knock. Why? If you knock the front sight out, there's a pusher tool you need. If you can wobble that out, it won't. Okay. Yep. Here we go. Okay, that has to be done with a tool, or you have to have really strong hands. That back part, though, okay, that actually does go like that.
I don't know why it makes me take the spring off. Maybe so it doesn't get lost.
Typically, you put them in little parts bins. All right, so yeah, those screw and that screw. Now, they will never lift out. Here's what you actually do. You knock those two screws out, and then you take a wooden dowel, and you put it through the magazine hinge plate, because there's a little button at the back of the hinge plate that hinges down so you can dump your ammo. You push the dowel up through that, flip it over, because this shit gets welded together with dirt. So then you put that dowel on there and you give it one big smack with a rubber hammer, and it will break it from the gun. but typically you'll find rust at the front of the receiver because that's where it seems to accumulate on these things.
Okay. Well, it just screws right out.
All right. Now, here's a story that I can actually tell. Removing that barrel, it is a work. And the last time I broke a barrel off that, I had to get a cheater bar, and it was about 475 pounds of force to remove the barrel.
That's
the problem
more than
is with
nuts.
Right. And the reason is because depending on who put that in there, they may have been well, we used to say Soviet gunsmiths come in two categories, and the way to judge them is the little game where you put little blocks and little shapes, right? So there's two kinds of Soviet gunsmiths. There's the very clever, and there's the very strong.
Okay.
So they will absolutely they'll force fit everything. So even if it's slightly out of spec, it's going in there. But you have to really break that free. And the other issue is when you get to that point, you're exerting so much strength on the receiver, it will actually fold like a cardboard house. I've seen someone bend a Mosin receiver trying to get one loose.
Holy shit.
It's just how it is. But Mosins actually do clean up real nice. I have some picture. Actually, I sold that one to Goat. When I finish a project, it's a null entry to me. So it has to go to someone who's going to love it. And I actually restored one of those to original factory arsenal condition, including raising the cartouches, which is a wood restoration project that took a year. Way more than a Mosin's worth, but I just want to see if it happens. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Mosin parts are funny because they're not generally worth restoring. You're like, this is broken, throw at wall, and then buy a 50-pound bag of parts.
Parts, Mosin.
I've done that. I mean, it's that's just how it is. You usually can buy Mosin parts by the pound. I've bought 50 pounds of Mosin triggers before.
Oh, at least it was the same part. Was it the same part?
There were some other parts in there. A guy actually put a bus token in there. I don't know what country it was from, but it was in there. I don't read wingdings. That looks like a hex receiver.
Well, okay. So now we have to sand and brush parts. Oh.
Choose one.
It's saying both.
Uh-huh.
We're just going to brush off. I think this is the firing pin. This is the firing pin.
Well, yeah, the Mosin firing pin is basically good enough to stake Dracula with. It's a meaty piece. I've seen dented firing pins, but I've never seen a broken Mosin firing pin because I think it's fundamentally impossible.
I think the rifle would break before the firing pin does.
Well, I don't know of anybody who puts that many rounds through a Mosin. After about 10 or 15, you're like, I'm done.
Time to get a Car 98.
Same issue. A lot of the Mauser boys, the wearaboos, don't like me saying this, but I'll be honest. People are like, the Car 98 was great. And I was like, the Car 98 emerged out of 1936 as an austerity measure to mass-produce rifles at any cost. It is not the best Mauser. By far. Build quality, design, everything. It is the cheap one. But people buy it and they're like, it's the best rifle. It's like, no, it's not. It's refined. It's better than a Mosin in many ways. But I can fix a Mosin with the Mosin. I don't need any extra parts. I break a Mauser back to factory. Oh, cool. Bluing.
This is... So, at a previous company I worked at, we were inspecting a foreign company that would do oxidation of our parts for us.
Yeah, like ferro nitrocarburizing or whatever.
So, yeah, this was, I'm trying to remember exactly, but it was a hexavalent chromate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the stuff that the EPA is just like, no.
Well, go ahead.
So Wait, didn't I oxidize? Didn't I blue these? Thought I did. I guess I did not. Thought I just did this. Wait, one of them fell in. That's okay. It'll be fine. It's just doing a little
Well,
dance.
so here's the other thing. You don't want to blue a Mosin. Typically, believe it or not, Russians coat stuff, Soviets coat stuff. It's like blackboard paint. It is a very specific kind of paint, and it's baked on. It's kind of like a very early, very crude, extremely carcinogenic coating, like Duracoat. You know.
Oh, okay.
And so it's imagine like how they used to bake enamel on like pots and pans, but it's paint. And it's like, again, it's hard as a blackboard. It lasts forever, but it's really crude stuff. And it works. Don't reuse springs. Oh, my God. Okay, so once you take a gun apart, springs cost nothing. So you put all new springs in there. It's like taking an engine apart and then reusing the same stretched bolts.
But Tex, it's oiled now.
So when it comes down to it, if you're doing coating, ferronitrocarburizing, aka parkerizing, manganese phosphating, just all the things you're doing. Actually, no, ferronitro. I'm not going to get into the chemistry of that because then that's going to be, well, technically it is, but it isn't, but it is, but it isn't, depending on how brands are. But there's also a lot of really interesting stuff. You're seeing a lot of cross-pollination with tool bit and die manufacturers using really interesting coatings. Like titanium nitride coatings that looks gold, but it's not. But that stuff you use on drill bits.
Right.
So it's really good on impact surfaces. NP3 coatings, like if you go look up at NP3 coatings, those are self-lubricating. So if you put MP3 coatings on like the rails, internals, hammer, firing pin, whatever of a machine gun, you can actually vastly increase its reliability and service life because NP3, if you get heavy carbon buildup, it's just a white free. So it's one of those things where you get something that's incredibly fouled and it's MP3 coated underneath. Not only is it like hard as a rock, but you can just sit there and wipe it once and it's clean.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so MP3 coatings are amazing. A lot of that stuff has come in, and that will never go on. Nuh-uh. I'm sorry, but those little end caps going on that wood, fuck you. That's not how that goes on. It involves our friend Mr. Hammer.
Hey, maybe Mr. Gunsmith just has incredibly strong arms.
No, it's like once you peel it off the gun, it's not in spec, and it never was. And then you realize it was put on with a hammer, it was removed with a hammer, it will go on with a hammer. It's the cycle of hammer.
The cycle of hammer.
I'm surprised that you didn't do what should be done.
Oh.
Okay, well, a customer comes in with a Mosin Nagant. It is obviously crudded to crap. So what you do is you need to check chamber and throat erosion in case there's like the barrel needs to be turned back or whatever. The other thing that I would do for a customer and client is a lot of these things were in Cosmoline and then brought out, and then people didn't know how to clean Cosmoline out, so they just shot it, right? So you have Cosmoline essentially like exploded into the chamber, and it's like concrete. So what you end up with is a very comfortable or uncomfortable gun to shoot as it heats up because the surfaces are all fucked. So what you do, there's multiple ways to do this, but you want to polish the chamber. And if you polish the chamber a lot and you do it right, it makes extraction, feeding, bolts, everything. Then when you pack it back to the client, a little bit of lithium grease in that bolt will absolutely smooth it out. And once you give the client a gun that is 10 times better than what they got, the next time they find some old and beat up, they're not going to bubba it themselves. They'll come to you, and you get a really nice customer out of it.
Okay.
Because you give them what they have, but better, and you show them what it can be, and that's kind of what you want to do as a gunsmith. Okay, a guy has an M79. Interesting.
Okay, let's do this. We're just gonna fix this.
there's actually a lot of parts manufacturers for stuff like this, and the parts are not controlled, so it wouldn't be hard. The only thing that would be difficult to get would be the barrel, probably.
Well, that's why we have the Gettin RPG 7. You know, in case we need to get quickly, it's just in there.
Oh, I get you.
You know, if
It's just one of those other things. We only made so many M79s, and when they reached the end of their life, a lot of them were just given, as to friends and family, as they like to say, where they hand them out to friendly countries. So they're kind of an old dead end, and there's only so many parts that were ever made. So finding some parts to keep them available, sights, triggers, springs, whatever, easier to get. Barrels, receivers, near impossible.
So now we get to Mr. CNC. I think I need something this big, unless. Maybe I don't. Maybe I can make this on the smaller block. So, as you can see, I'm going to save $20 of material because I don't know where these prices came from. No.
I mean, it depends. I knew people who have done gunsmithing for a long time, and let's say that a customer wants some grips cut and put into various things. And they have some idea of, I want pau ferro, I want cocobolo, or any of these other woods. I mean, a lot of these materials are obscenely expensive because they're not going to sell you. Basically, it comes in two sizes. Size 1 is the sample size that you use to see if you want to put wood paneling on your deck or house. The other side is the block, and some of these are controlled woods. So, if you want to buy a block of this, you may be sitting on that wood for 4, 5, 6 years as you're trying to make blanks out of it. And when you have to, cut each set of blanks and whatever for a customer, you're like, hey, are you willing to buy a $500 grip? The answer is no.
Look at the Magic CNC Go, Tex.
That's a fast mill.
That's a very fast mill. And then it's using no coolant. And it's taking an inch of material off at a time. It's even making the undercut without moving.
I mean, this shop makes sense.
I also like using the jog wheel to open the doors.
Well, I'm going to say this much. That is unlike any CNC machine I've seen in a gunsmithing shop, because there's going to be about 50 Post-it notes on it that says don't.
And then you flip the metal pancake. Yeah.
It's just, there'll be 50 pieces that say don't. It will just say, nope, do not do this, do not. It will just be an endless series of don't press this button, it's broken. We hot-wired this to work this way. Don't touch that.
Also realized I had the game audio off this entire time, so,
Oh, that'll make this better, I'm sure.
Chat was missing out on the full experience. If we had a Magic CNC like this, we could make so much more money than doing gunsmithing.
I was gonna say, if you have a Magic CNC machine, why aren't we making medical equipment? Why aren't we making heart pumps for artificial hearts at dimes on the dollar that fast, within millionths tolerances, right?
Yep. Oh, it can hold any tolerance you want.
See, this sounds like black magic.
And it only requires 2 materials. It requires a steel billet or an aluminum billet, and it can make any hardness, any temper, any grade of steel you want from that billet.
So, as I was saying earlier, AK-47s have this really cool bell curve, right? And this bell curve freaks people out on AK-47s. When they are all new, they feel clunky, the triggers are clunky, they don't feel right. Mm-hmm. They feel beat up. They just feel wrong in so many ways. They just it's just rough. And then at a certain part, once all the parts wear in, it's sweet. It is smooth as silk. Everything is, because the Soviets the engineering was they would overdesign and overbuild everything, right? And then they acknowledged that rather than finishing the parts, simple friction will do that for you.
Yeah. Yep.
So at a certain point, they wear in and they become really sweet shooting. And then something breaks and you replace it because it's an AK, it's idiot proof. However, then it feels bad again because you have a new part interfacing with like polished, smooth parts, and it doesn't feel right again. So it's like a beanbag chair when it comes down to it. It will shape itself to your ass, but then maybe some of the beans get crushed, right?
And
so yeah,
it's so in car world, right? Because that's the world I've lived a lot in. You see the same thing happening with engines. Right? You will, if you are buying a car, you will almost never find a brand new engine. That engine has been. Wait, I didn't buy it. I didn't make an elevation screw. Oh, it must be a different part. Wait, but I did put those.
Well,
in.
no, I get what you're saying because you realize that new engines are not good.
No, they take
because,
and it's not much. They use a special oil that is full of abrasive, and
yeah,
they'll run it
oil.
for like 5 hours, maybe. Some of them are as low as 20 minutes because that's all they need, and it will grind all the running pieces together. And you can actually see, like, if you ever get the chance to go to an engine factory or like even simple stuff like lawnmower engines, and you watch it come off the production line and go through that first startup, you will see the engine like visibly start up, like coughing and choking, and then within like a minute or two it starts to run smoother and smoother and smoother until it's like visibly running faster and making more power. So.
Oh, and I agree. It's kind of, believe it or not, the same protocol exists for the V2 through V54 series of Soviet tank engines. One of the really, really interesting observations is that their doctrine was they would never finish the engine or hone it at the factory. They just made everything super, super tight, put normal, heavy, nasty oil in it, and then they would start and drive them around until they stopped smoking.
Yep.
So standard protocol in Soviet arms dumps for a long, long time was you would have 1,000, 2,000 T-55s sitting in a field, and you'd have a guy whose job was to go out there and run them for 20 minutes and then dump the oil out because it's full of shavings.
Yep.
And then replace it, and then go to the next tank and do that. And they would keep doing all that until they were cycled to active duty.
So is the AK the only gun that does that, or are there other guns that'll like say you need to wear this in?
Plenty.
Okay.
Plenty. I mean, even Glock will tell you the break-in period is X rounds. It's because everything's slightly too tight, slightly whatever, and that's great. They let you know. And they've actually, through a lot of their design and continued improvements, they've made that first initial, like, 400-round break-in period much shorter over the years. Because I remember when I had a Gen 3 Glock that was brand new, it took a little break-in, and it was just little hiccups. It wasn't like failure to feed. It was just like the reset trigger was a bit too tight. Just little things that are uncomfortable that would impede full operation. HK is the same way. HK will just tell you on paper when you buy it, they're like, this is the break-in period. Doesn't matter how expensive that handgun is. They're like, this is what the factory says. We have tested this. You're not smarter than the guy at the factory.
Yeah. Have you ever told a German you didn't follow the rules?
Yeah. They'd be like, why did this happen? And you'd be like, well, what I did was, and they're like, that was Rule 37B. Why didn't you do that?
Yeah, like, well...
And you're like, it was in Turkish. And they're like, yes, but that metal is Turkish. It will be some absurd reasoning. They won't help you either. They'll just write that into the next protocol rules, and they will cite you as the source.
The blunderbuss, man.
Castus, if you want to get into gunsmithing, there's actually a lot of... the first step is armoring. Armoring is just finding parts that are broken, understanding all the technical sheets, and replacing them. So armoring familiarizes yourself with guns, and that's kind of important, especially in this hands-on is good. There's plenty of schools that offer gunsmithing programs, but that's more to work in commercial gunsmithing, which is very different than doing hobbies and restoration. So armoring is first. Find something that has a lot of parts, find something that's fairly cheap, and teach yourself how parts work. And once you get that confidence, then you can start branching out. There's plenty of armory manuals on anything. Destroyed Garand. Why is it destroyed?
Due to lack of interest from previous owners.
Okay, let me get a beverage and I'll be back. I've rebuilt a few Garands. We can do this.
Well, this is if you want to buy it and own it. So yeah.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and get that, and I'll be back.
Okay, we're gonna bid on this destroyed Garand. Someone treated like shit. Yeah. 1,200 for destroyed Garand. Typical bidding site. I get it for. Look, we got a Garand. Right. Sorry for the ignoring chat, but it's been a fun conversation. So I know what I've got. 2,500. Yeah. How much was that? I think 1,300 at the end. 1,285. Which, yeah, the CMP has fully restored Garands for 1,200. So you know. Germans are dwarves with the Book of Grudges. Is this the one where you pull apart rings, seals, and remove calibrated pins? Probably. I think some of these is like.
All right, I'm back. What do we got?
People removing pins that are captive. But yeah, oh, there's a Garand that was apparently destroyed.
No, it looks like it's missing the trigger guard, which is, I mean, that could be bad, but I can buy those trigger packs. And like, if you go to Fulton Armory, they still work on Garands, they still work on M14s, they still work on machine guns. You can get all those parts made new, but can you pick the gun up before we start playing with it? Can I look at the rear of the receiver behind the sights, please?
Oh, the stamping?
What are we looking at here? See what it's worth.
Caliber 30 M1 Spring Armory? I think it's supposed to say
Springfield. That's supposed to be Springfield. All right, so we have an SA. Can you read the serial number off for me?
2651238.
Stand by. Okay, numbers. So 2 million and change, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 2 million what? What's the next digit?
6.
26. Interesting. One sec. She was made in February of 1944 at Springfield Armory.
Oh, so this is a historically significant firearm.
Not really. This is, once they've knocked all the bells and whistles out, this is one of the more common ones. So, I mean, if you want to talk crazy, you have to look at the, like, some of the rarer manufacturers. There's a lot of weird people that got roped into making guns in World War II.
Actually.
like it's a list. So like inland, there's like Ivor Johnson, International Harvester. I mean, God, even if you go and look at like M1 carbines that are everywhere, some of the rare ones are really interestingly made. One of the ones that people really want and like hunger over, that's like incredibly attractive, is are you familiar with the company Rockola?
No.
Rockola makes the Wurlitzer jukebox, record players, the Wurlitzer. That's Rockola. So Rockola got roped into making M1 carbines. And it's kind of funny. The other one that's really good is International Postal Meter. They also made M1 carbines.
Just man, okay.
No, the ones that really flip you out is when you're at a machine gun shoot and you look at the side plate of like a 50 caliber machine gun and it says Saginaw steering gear, General Motors.
That is wild.
No,
also, we have a pretty
yeah.
unique Garand because it has the same serial number as another one that's in the shop.
Well, forgeries exist. What you can do is if you're really clever, one of the things you can do that's really clever is if you have a serial number you want to try to replicate and you know it's not in a museum or anyone's hands, you can then make, even though it is a pain in the ass, you can make and match both the receiver and the marring by just taking it and throwing it against concrete a few times and then parkerizing it and then doing it again and then parkerizing it. Like adopting a very destructive quench polish quench cycle. And then you add some impurities in the manganese phosphating, because original parkerizing that these things have based on year, era, or factory will have imperfections in the phosphating, which actually makes them look slightly green, slightly gray, what have you, under certain lights. You can replicate those impurities. So if you do all of that correctly, you can match any serial number and you could make anything. You could say, oh yeah, this was a Garand prototype, and have it be like serial number 50. And that will be bought. That does exist.
So how do we? I mean, I guess, is it like art then, where like even if you are an expert, a good enough forgery could still fool you?
Sure. A really common set of forgeries that exist out there, and there's argument over whether or not it's a forgery. In guns, like one of the really common ones to do for like 20 years was Mausers, because wearaboos will pay an absolute premium for Mausers for reasons unknown to man. I don't get it. So what you do is the higher rated Mausers will be marked with certain factories. It'll have the bad eagle on it and all the other, unfriendly stuff. The windmill of peace and tolerance, as I jokingly say. But it'll have all of those things on it. And all of them are done in a certain way. Now, the final thing, like I can match a serial number, I can stamp over numbers, I can do all of these things. But the one thing that's the dead giveaway to prove that this was actually made during the time it was, is there's a little hard metal stamp called a Waffenant, which means it was accepted into service. Each one's different. And they're like a little tungsten rod, and on the pin of it will have the eagle, right? Well, guess what? After the end of the war, everybody, absolutely everybody who made Mausers for the Third Reich had piles of those. Gunsmiths bought them. So I once asked a guy, hey, have you ever seen a Waffenamp for this year? And he sends me back a picture where he has a whole coffee mug full of them.
Wow.
So if they're that prevalent, he has those that are aged at different ages in the cycle. So he can say, oh, I have a serial number 50 before this and 50 after this, and it was this level of wear. He can go through and find that Waffen and replace it.
That's, I mean, so yeah, it's historical firearms sounds really stressful.
Well, sure. That's why I invest in machine guns, because they're registered and there's only so many. As a investment as well, I would not recommend buying anything you don't understand. Don't buy, NFPs. Someone's going to funge that shit.
So, what configuration should we go for this? With this,
I think bone stock standard is the way to go in a Garand. It's one of those things where, like, the sharpshooter, that's a national match setup. That's a post-war thing. Converting sniper Garands, you can do that historically right. The problem is going to be the correct scope, because reproduction scopes are not as good. But yeah, anything's forgeable. Sniper Garands exist, Bubbit Garands exist. I would just say do your standard or do a national match. National match Garands are a big premium. People will still buy them even if they are new made. They don't care, because national match is about competition, and that's the means by which you do it.
Okay. Let's do a national match Garand, because I have a bone stock one in the shop already. We can change the wood. Wood, mahogany.
Nope. Well, if it's national match, let's go crazy. That means we custom cut the wood, right?
Yep. Cherry.
Maple.
All right. Maple wood.
Maple looks really good on a Garand.
All right. Maple. So now we can. So now that apparently I have enough. How quickly do you suppose someone could disassemble a Garand down?
Well, if it wouldn't get me and us banned on Twitch, I could demonstrate that for you.
But would you say it would take like several minutes?
Not if you know what you're doing. You could do it inside of 60 seconds all the way down.
Okay.
I'll time myself later and let you know.
Done.
Okay. I mean, it's literally like taking apart anything. If you're familiar with it, it's not hard. If you do it all day, it's not hard. When you're unfamiliar with it, you don't know what to take down. So like a national match rifle, by you disassembling it, that means it is out of competition now. And that doesn't mean disqualified. It means from the start of a national match season to the end of a national match season, you do not disassemble or break down the rifle. You only clean the barrel. Because everything has to be consistent.
Okay.
It's that consistent. So it's one of those things of, if you break a rifle apart in between competitions, you're going to be shooting all over the place with that level of precision. Create part my ass. I can buy these by the ton. Go into Fulton Armory's website. I need the following parts. Okay, do you want express shipping? It's painless.
But the magic CNC.
I'm frowning right now.
Oh, does this need to be rotated to be happy? It does need to be rotated to be happy. All right, and we're going to slip. All right. Okay. We just use the magic CNC. And it's even faster than express shipping. I also like how there's no tool changes. It uses the drill bit to touch off for the zeros. Which is, I mean, I did that with like manual lathes, but
Well, the thing that's kind of interesting is, like, each gun has its own life cycle, right? Like cars or whatever. It's like when you go take your car to get service, it will say, at X mile do Y. Check this, check that, and learning all the armory stuff, you learn all the cycles of stuff. Same with machines. A really good example of this is if you look at one of our favorite poster boys of excess, shall we say, HK. When you look at what HK does and how they do it, The thing is that they love just passing off tools when they feel they are done with them. And that's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. So when you have HK make something like the G3 and then they get disinterested in servicing the clients who still operate the G3 or its derivatives, HK will then find other people who are like satellite manufacturers or subcons for this work and then just sell them all the tooling. Be like, hey, you want to make money? There you go. Enjoy. And that's where you end up with like 90% of the stuff feeding the MG3, the HK21, the G3, the size 3 and 4 platform guns, HK91, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. MP5s even. If you're wondering why POF, for example, the Pakistani Ordnance Factory, if you wonder why they can make an MP5 for $500 and sell it for $800, if you ever see those POF, mark those. That's Pakistani Ordnance Factory. It's because HK sold them the dies. And they are HK dies. If you go look at a lot of the other ones that you'll find, it'll be like MKE Turkey. They're a huge, huge parts maker. And so MKE Turkey will do all that, and it's pretty neat. The other one, a really great example, if any of you guys have shot or held or owned a PTR 91 in the U.S., those are the dies that were given to the Portuguese, and then they bought those dies and then built their own dies off those dies. So you're finding second and third hand generation of 1960s dies being used. And so it's an interesting ecosystem.
So you just saw the magical bandsaw. Or wood.
I know. I like maple. I think maple's great.
Maple's a great material. Now, you saw the file I just picked up, right? It's a small little file. I'm just gonna.
Sorry, I'm just covering my mouth. That was that sound.
And now I'm just gonna shape this wood with a little file.
Yeah.
Very strong arms, Tex. Very strong arms.
There are people who can do it, but holy crap. But no, for national match as well, you can do a lot of neat things. Because usually you'll see NM. That's national match. And a lot of those guns, like the M14 national match guns that are really, really good, and the M1 national match guns that are really, really good, typically Fulton Armory.
Okay.
They're also the only shop in the know that I know that actually still does the really super hard forged receivers. They still do all the mil spec stuff, and they will service your machine gun.
Okay.
I'm not a tank expert, von Falkenstein, but I know enough, and I would just be like, that's not how that goes on there.
Should we checker the wood or leave it as smooth?
Oh, I'd add checkering. That's a plus for a national match, especially on the contact surfaces, because you will get sweaty holding that steady for long enough time. So yeah, checkering and inlays are a really nice way to also visually identify your rifles, and you're like, no, this one is more for a specific purpose. That's not where I'd put that, but I understand, because typically on a Garand, like the back grip's a little fat, and if you cut, turned, and inlaid it right, you put a little checkering on the front of the grip too, so those support fingers aren't going to slide when they get a little sweaty.
So I know this is going to be moot, but we can change the color of the stain. We can make the stain bright pink.
Do whatever you like.
I'm just going to darken it a little bit.
I would say darken it, because wood does two things. It either gets darker with time or lighter with time.
Right.
And I find that when maple sometimes does get appropriately slightly darker in time, it's not surface darker where it looks grody. It's actually kind of a deeper color change. So you see the alternate between the light and the dark, and it's very swirly and kind of fascinating in that way. I think that's really, really attractive as things go. Because if you look at stuff like Tiger Eye Maple and stuff like that, you have a lot of interesting wood to play with. And a lot of people go for the exotics without realizing there's still good wood where they live. You just got to see what you can do with it.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And that's what we did here. We just made it a little bit darker. Is this like a normal? Yeah. No. It's pretty normal. Wait. What? Oh.
Well, the other thing you want to do with a Garand, and that's one thing I always try to correct people on. I'll correct them once, and then I'll let them say it however they want. John C. Garand, he's a Canadian.
Okay. Garand.
So the pronunciation from the family is Garand. But if you look at Garand's contributions and then look at how he was rewarded, it is probably the greatest ripoff in gunsmithing history. That and Kalashnikov. Those two guys profited almost nothing from what they did. Like, they gave him a medal, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's like, right, but what about everything? No, shut up. That's how stuff was back then.
What was the brush making spray can noises? Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's the rattle brush. You gotta shake it.
You gotta shake the brush to get the paint off a bit. Go dry brushing it.
The thing is, I also want to really slap things down. Like, I am a gunsmith, and by years in doing it, I would definitely be on that line between journeyman and master. But even then, I will disabuse that notion because that's a technicality. And time in grade does not mean excellence in grade. And unless you're doing it every damn day, you're not a gunsmith. It's like a doctor that doesn't practice medicine. You're not a doctor. That hands-on is everything. So, like, I will wager that there are people who have taught themselves gunsmithing during COVID that have more ticks, more ability, more tips and tricks and everything else than I ever learned. Because all it takes is dedication to a craft. Regular practice is everything.
Yep. Yeah.
And so that's one of those things that I want people to know. If anyone is like, oh, you wouldn't understand it. Oh, I'm the gunsmith. Trust me. Be like, explain to me what I don't know. Because if they know what they're talking about, they will find you the resources they draw from. And do not think you need to know any of this stuff from memory. There are manuals for all of this, because all of this stuff, especially if it's a military firearm, was designed to be worked on, fixed, and replaced by people with no education and simply very good guidelines. And when you realize that, there's a really charm to mil-spec guns that were mass-produced, because not only are there parts available, but all the difficult stuff that you would normally have to do has been worked out. Nothing new under the sun. You're not inventing solutions. And I think that is where things get a little less scary, is you just realize, yeah, it's not that complex. A lot of these things are no more complex than a wristwatch. And I don't mean a modern wristwatch. I mean, like, oh, there's a spring, there's a counterweight, there's an axis pin. And as soon as you can see all those parts, you're like, this stuff is simple. It's not it's not a how should I phrase this? I don't like elitism. I think knowledge belongs to everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so you should not be afraid to learn things. And there are plenty of access to information out there. And there's plenty of people who do exceptionally proficient kitchen smith gunsmithing. Like, wait a second. I just saw that. 1 second. Okay. So zoom in. That little part on the bottom of what you just were working on? Nope. That one.
What?
No, down. The Picatinny 1913 I'm not worried about. That looks like an RMR mounting plate off a pistol. Why?
It's just the rear rail.
Why?
Mount. It's
You know what? Go ahead.
It's just to mount the rail.
Go ahead.
It's for Picatinny.
Yeah, the AK chambered in 50 BMG is fun as a lark. It's interesting as a mechanical approach to things. It's replicating things that have been solved, though, already. So from my perspective, I just go, why? And if it's fun, as a what if, whatever, like making a Nobrez and you're not fighting a trench war in World War I. It's fun. It's fun to replicate these things. But there's a lot smarter ways to make a 50 cal. But it's also interesting. So there's a lot of stuff that's out there that's just incredibly neat. And I think that falls into that category. It's one of those things of, if you're bored with the skills you have, like genuinely bored with the skills you have, and you want to do something neat because you don't want to make AK 900.
Yeah.
You know, you want to make
challenge yourself.
Neat thing.
Do something different.
Exactly. And that's the way to see that. Because I've seen people are like, this is amazing. The Army could buy it. And I just start laughing because I point at like all the other proven battlefield implements in 50 cal, 14.5 by 114, 12.7 by et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All this stuff exists. And it's mass produced and has parts for it and service for it and, tech transfer licenses for it so you can make your own. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Not an issue. But as an idea, you'll find that there's a lot of really interesting guns out there that are just done, again, as you say, to challenge your skills, because otherwise you get bored with your passion. Because imagine if you were a concert pianist and all you did was play the same song every day.
Yeah, you would, even if, or for your job, you have to do, whatever, 3 or 4 songs that you keep doing. But at home, you're not going to just keep playing it. The same songs. You're going to start playing something different.
And one of the really great ways, and this is something a little bit of history that I can drop on you guys because I think it's kind of neat. And I love dropping weird little history doodads on you. I think his first name was Franz, but I know his last name was Zemechnik. This guy, Mr. Zemechnik, was a classically trained pianist, classically trained composer, and worked at a lot of that. And when he went to America, he did all the classical things classical musicians do. And then he went to go see silent films. And he just sat there and he'd watch the silent films and he goes, you know what this needs is music. So Zemechnik is the guy who invented photoplay music, as it's called. And his concept was, if I, as a concert pianist and a classically trained pianist, could come up with soundtracks that anybody who could play the piano could play, then you add leitmotifs to your music. So people are like, oh, here comes the bad guy. Dun, 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 dun. He was the guy who invented piano playing in silent film. And it's called photoplay music. You can go listen to all of Zemechnik's photoplay music, and instantly you're like, oh my God, this is like the basis of music, commercial music and everything else. And he just did it because he was a bored concert pianist. So the reason I tell Zemechnik's story is you have to find your own photoplay music. You have to find a way of reinventing the things that you know in ways that are more relatable and interesting. And when you look at that, if I butchered his name and what have you, I do apologize. I speak only one language and rather poorly at times. I'm full of 4-letter words and all the other stuff. But I really think that that's kind of interesting when you look at all of that, because you realize that there are plenty of people out there who've had to reinvent themselves. And I only had one issue when you put that Garand back together, is you didn't change the gas key out. So at the barrel end of the Garand, right under the barrel is the gas system, right? Mm-hmm. And at first, the early Garands have a very weird looking plug because there's a hex head plug. It's not really a hex head. No, not a hex head. Sorry. It's a Phillips end, but it's like the thickest, biggest Phillips end you can. That's the end of the gas cylinder and gas plug. The original Garands, they downloaded the cartridges because U.S. military gun ranges weren't long enough to actually be safe to mass train on all this, so they downloaded it to make M2 ball from standard commercial 30-06. And if you use modern standard commercial 30-06 in a Garand, especially the early ones with a gas trap, it's overpressure on the op rod, and then you have a bending problem. Op rods can get bent. Now, a lot of people who hate Garands will go, you can bend the op rod. And what they don't know is there is a key you get, and it looks like a crucifix, and it goes in the end of that, and you can turn that gas system open, or you can do even better, replace it with a gas plug from the M14 cut to shape, and then you can use anything. So it's a one little part that you can do, and usually when a Garand comes in, you want to do that, so if someone is like, oh, I'm going hunting, they can use match grade ammo, whatever, no problem. Or they can use M2 ball or anything else, and you have a gas system that is just in tune to however the customer wants.
Okay. Well, in this case, we bought a brand new gas cylinder. So, yeah.
We could hand wave that and say that's what it is.
Yeah. Or, the customer or it's this planned obsolescence, and when the op rod bends, they ship it back to us.
Now, the other one that's kind of interesting that you want to get into, that's not how that works. You pull that back on a Garand, it will hold open if it's empty. It will do that.
Yeah, maybe we put some dummy cartridges in off screen.
Then where are they?
Don't worry about it. They're off screen.
So, fine. Now, I'm just hand waving it. I'm not getting into it. Now, the other thing that's kind of interesting about when you get into Garands is you can have a lot of really fun little things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
You can church them up in a lot of ways. You can make them, 308 Garands and what have you. But von Falkenstein says, "Would you 50 cal Garand?" Sure. They're really strong receivers. The thing that's crazy is I don't have to. There was a guy in the Dakotas, I talked about it in the Whale Guns and Modding video. He cut a Garand to run 458 Winchester Magnum, which will put a thumb-size hole through a rhinoceros front to back. And in order to balance out the recoil management mechanism in that is, I shit you not, a tube of mercury in the stock.
I mean, it would work as long as none of it got on you.
It's in a tube. It's just designed to act as a counterweight for the recoil.
That's oof. Oh no.
Yeah. So Garands are nuts. You can do a lot with that.
Also, we're selling this Garand, and apparently it's already up to $2,200.
For an NM, that's reasonable, especially if you post that, in some boomer circles. You have someone's like, and you'll get whatever you want.
Spring break?
It's back. They said it broke.
Oh. 2,500 nearly. That's not bad. So we have about half an hour left.
Sure.
And I thought what I could do is, sell this. And there's some other firearms in here that got collected.
Okay, I'm calm.
Are you calm and ready?
Uh-huh.
We have the Desert Eagle, a very practical firearm, as I'm sure you know.
Well, I'm not gonna hate on it. I've owned and restored a few. There's the ones you own, which are the Mark 9s and earlier, are really robust and decent. And if you can find a 357 Magnum Desert Eagle, it's probably the smoothest 357 Magnum you're ever going to find, and you can put a really nice trigger in them. The issue is that the later ones come with all the goofy movie shit because they're designed for that audience. They're designed to sit in a case and look nasty and scary and imposing. And, oh, man, you got that. It's badass. But if you can get the old ones, especially the old 357 Magnums like Mark 7, Mark 9s, you can put a 1911 style trigger in those, and it irons out all of the recoil. The problem is they're just honking fucking huge pistols.
Well, I made this one bigger.
Yeah, no, that's actually the barrel kit that came with them. When you bought a Desert Eagle back in the day, sometimes you get multiple slides with multiple barrels. So you'd have a hunting barrel, you'd have a tactical barrel, whatever. And they come up with all these different barrel lengths, especially in higher calibers and cartridges, so you can get more push out of it. Because some states actually have handgun hunting season that is handgun only. So when you have a gun like that that can drop an elk, for instance, those guns are very attractive to own in a handgun hunting season if it overlaps when you normally take vacation. They exist within a very niche. It's like when you see the giant revolvers with all the goofy stuff on it, people go, oh, ha, ha, that's so goofy. And I'm like, in a state where you have very strict rifle laws or what have you, and it has a handgun hunting season, that's your loophole to enjoy it. So most people do. However, mounting that sight on that gun is going to be an exercise in floating zero because it's going to shake it to pieces.
It fit. If I fits, I sits.
I'm taking this as a guy who owns a G3 that he turned into an MSG 90. Scopes have a lifespan in high recoil applications, so get something with a warranty.
I could do this to it. Is that better?
I've seen dumber. I will not show you on stream, but I have seen an Obrez that feeds from a DP27 magazine. The Pan magazine. The guy hammered those together. It works.
Hammer seems to be the most versatile tool.
In the gunsmithing shop? Absolutely. And anyone who's like, I don't have a hammer, I'm like, you're not a gunsmith. It's one of those things. If someone's like, oh, we have to be gentle with things. Sure. It's like when you go look at a mechanic and you go look at the car he drives, it's a piece of shit, but it works. Mm-hmm. If you go look at a gunsmith's guns, they're all in works in progress. The hammer is nearby. Or an object that will be used as a hammer.
So, on this one, I'm not sure what the wait list for a suppressor is, but in this case, it was about 20 seconds.
Well, it depends on the new electronic Form 4s are pretty quick. You can actually get whatever you need fairly quickly, as long as you do all your parts, you do all your research, you do all your smarts. Yeah, I mean, you can get them now in like a month or two. I've seen some that are like weeks, to be honest. Oh, cool, a 1928. All right, I own one of these.
Oh,
that's correct. Hold on.
Okay. Emotional support Tommy gun.
Yeah, all right, remove that. Go ahead. That's not the right way to do it. Okay, that slides off the back. Pull it back. There's a little tab. There you go. Now, see that bolt right there?
This one?
That bolt actually... No. That bolt there that goes through that cross bolt, believe it or not, that actually determines the grip strength of that plate. A lot of people just think it's a needless cross bolt. So some people are like, my Thompson won't come apart. And I go, put the screwdriver head in that and turn it like a millimeter. And it slides right off. Yep, so that little bit...
Squeeze this together.
Exactly. So that's how they used to do stuff then.
Oh, there's more stuff back here. And take.
Okay. Now, what you have to do is typically you then flip it over, but they're not going to let you do that. Nope. Okay, so see that little spring there? Let's go ahead and take that recoil spring. Now, here's what's wild about that recoil spring. There's a little flat plate that's wider, that flange. That's actually a piece of rubber or plastic, depends on when it was serviced. And that's the buffer. And that prevents it from slamming into the rear of the receiver. But what's interesting to see, there's a pin. And this is what happens when you work on Thompsons, is you start remembering how cursed these things are. 3/4 of the way through that pin is a little hole. And that little hole is designed for a punch or a nail. And that little hole, what you have to do is you have to get that spring out of there. But first, you usually want to open the action by pulling it back and compressing that spring as far as you can. And then drive a pin through that hole and then pull it out. However, if you forget or you don't have a good punch and that spring comes unsprung, you are going to learn to dance in a hurry. It looks like getting shot at in the Matrix. That thing will ricochet off every wall. It is horrible. Do not lose that spring. You will lose an eye. Where's the blish lock? See, there you go. Actually, that's not how you get that out. You have to jiggle it back and forth because it's in a rail. And then you're going to have to take out the blish lock and then compare it to your other blish lock, because I have 4 of them. And I have one that's uncut factory original. And then I use that to detect wear against all the ones I cycle through that have actually been in the gun.
Oh, okay.
Now, the other thing that's interesting is if you look at the front of the magwell and what you might call the lower, but it's really just the grip stock, you'll see that magwell has a vertical line. Yeah, that one. That is for the back rib of Thompson magazines. It locks it in tight, so that's really cool. So it's a feed rail. So in the dark, if you can't see it, you can put your thumb there and slide the magazine against the thumb and put it in without looking at it. However, there's also a horizontal cut in that magwell. The horizontal cut will tell you if that's a real 1928 or a converted one. That horizontal cut is for drum magazines.
This one
and
here.
Without that, yes, because drum magazines don't go in vertically on a Thompson, they go in sideways. And on the other side of that is the little key that will hold and latch into the back of those drum magazines. And they make a little special tool to where if you're rapidly running through drums, they called it a third hand key for a Thompson to put those in quick. You don't need it, but it does make it easier.
Okay. So as the magazine is clearly missing, and we must reassemble the magazine, we can't just buy one.
No, you need to buy magazines by the pound. Like a lot of the magazines you're going to get are magazines that have been demobilized, so springs taken out, floor plates missing, and their frames. And the issue with that is a lot of them have dents and imperfections. They won't feed right, so you have to get or make out of wood a bucking bar, essentially, that is the correct inside diameter, and then you hammer it through those things and remove all that, and then you have to make sure the feed lips are actually correct, because a lot of people use Thompson magazines at various points to open various bottles, and soldiers do that. So you'll find a lot of them with chipped and bent feed lips. This is probably because grandpa or great-grandpa used it to open a Coca-Cola, and you're going to have to fix that. But yeah, you buy Thompson magazines in piles, and then you recondition them from what you can.
Night Owl, no, I think this is just parts of the magazine. I don't think it's the entire body that we are putting on the Magic CNC that uses the jog controls to open and close the door. Which is fun. Everything is apparently at 85.
Oh,
it's at 85.
That's a good number.
It's a real good number.
What about 7? What about anything else?
Well, it doesn't go to 7 or 70.
Oh,
It that was a weird head pivot. We've got 7 here. It says right now you have nothing to do in the CNC machine.
milling factor of 85.
That's either either way, it's concerning. It's either really high or really low.
Yeah, when it comes down to working on various firearms, the one thing I just want to keep reminding people is if anyone starts saying, I have 20 years of experience and I'm a master gunsmith and blah, 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 and they try to tell you not to get into something because you wouldn't understand or you don't get it, and they start quoting Wikipedia or Reddit or whatever, Just know they're full of shit. Most of the stuff is designed to be done by people who have no education in it out of military necessity, or in places where firearms are necessary for hunting, or hell, like if you go to Norway, used for like defending your farm against like marauding polar bears or whatever. And again, I'm probably gonna have comments who are like, that's not how that is. Shut up. It's hyperbole. Walk with me for the sake of argument. You'll find that a lot of this stuff is designed to be bone dead simple. It is designed to be done by a guy with a book in a shed. And that's good engineering. The firearms industry typically has exceptional engineering on stuff that has long lasted because it's simple. There's nothing yet to remove.
And I think part of it is also like the stuff that was engineered well is what survived till today. If you had a piece of crap that fell apart in like 40 years and could not be maintained, it's not around. Okay,
see that thing? Mm-hmm. This thing, they actually named it right. This is called the breech oiler. You will find this in 28s. Those little inserts there that seem to be missing stuff, those little guys there actually have a special grade of felt that goes in them. And this special grade of felt is almost like old fan belts. It's really, really coarse. Okay. And what you do with these oiler pads, which are not metal, but apparently are now, these oiler pads made out of this felt are to be impregnated with oil. And so what happens is the back of the receiver, or sorry, the actuator in a Thompson sense, because not receiver, brain fart. The actuator, the top part of the bolt with a little toggle handle on it, is called the actuator. Mm-hmm. When that rolls back with the bolts, the ears of the blish lock will impact that felt and squeeze out a little dollop of oil. Okay. And then as it rolls forward, it re-lubricates the rail. And so a lot of people are like, the blish lock serves no purpose. And I'm like, okay, let me show you a 100-year gun that's still factory new. The reason is because the blish lock oils everything. If you look at stuff from the outside and you don't know this stuff, you won't know it. So another rule of gunsmithing. If one guy focuses on one platform, trust him when he says he's figured it out. There's so many things you only learn because you work on one thing a lot. And trying to maintain my Thompson has been an exercise in discovering all the walls of shit I don't know. And that is the most important part of it, because there are Thompson communities. There are a lot of different people who work on Thompsons for Hollywood, everything else. And if you ask the questions and you are humble and say, hey, I don't know, but what do we do about this? They'll tell you their workarounds. They'll tell you what they discovered. And they'll tell you all the things that have been discovered since this thing was made. Like, we didn't know this then, but this actually does this now. And you're like, oh, so you find all the little secrets, all the fun little secrets that the original designers did and never shared with anybody. And so you kind of rediscover the process of how they made the gun.
Why can't I make the factory? Okay, whatever.
So when it comes down to, why you can't make it if it's a machine gun, that's illegal.
Well, no, I can't make the stock on the woodworking bench for some reason.
Well, yeah, it's probably because there's a lot of mil-serp stocks you can just buy. But when it comes down to like question on the C96s, I think C96s are fun as a toy. The reason is C96s are in the realm of what I like to call hand-fit guns. From the factory, no two are alike. If I took 3 of them and I put all the parts side by side, the imperfections and little fittings in the parts means I'm going to have to fiddle with it. So everything is kind of unique. And C96s are great when all the parts are fine and it's all hand-fit and it's all original and parts numbering and everything else like that. Those are museum-grade guns. Don't shoot them. They're worth a lot of money. The other ones that you find that are not museum-grade guns, the ones that are definitely not museum-grade guns, are usually fabricated from 3, 4, 5, 6 other guns. And that's fine. These are a little weird parts fit, whatever. And they'll work. They're shooters. They don't really have an intrinsic collector's quality. But the C96, while awesome in so many ways, as an iconic firearm, is certainly a product of its era, not only in design, but how they were made. And while they're cool as shit, once you start trying to take care of one, you start screaming because you're going, why was this decision made? And you start to realize why we make things the way we do now.
So, okay. Finishing up what I was talking about earlier with the hexavalent chromate. So we found this company in a foreign country that was willing to do the work for us. And I mean, the irony of that was we couldn't move away from hexavalent chromate because we were not allowed to. It would require an act of Congress to change.
Sure.
And the EPA said we weren't, like, if you want to make this in country, here's the new rules you have to follow. And we're like, we can't make money with this. But we found a country abroad that would do just the chroming. So, all right, we go through the steps to make sure we can do it there. And then the last step was going to the country to actually check out how they were doing the parts, making the parts. We found the workers doing the work wore safety flip-flops and just had these gigantic open, like, fishing nets that they would use to shuttle parts, dripping with, like, hot acid or hot bases across the floor into the next boiling open vat of chromating chemicals. And
that sounds unpleasant.
And we were like, no. People are going to die here from doing this shit, and we want no part of it.
Well, oh, he meant to say the M17 trench carbine version of the C96. Well, that's interesting. Designed for a very specific purpose at a very specific time, but largely just a historical curiosity. I don't see the appeal of owning something like that other than a wall hanger. Like, check out this sweet thing I have, don't touch it. And they're neat, but I wouldn't want to own one. There are some things where you realize the bottleneck of parts and everything is gone, and it's more work to maintain than it is to keep. However, I know people who bought Lugers, shooting quality Lugers, not nice ones, no parts matching, for quite literally like $800, like just a few years ago. And you can go sell those now in shooter quality for thousands. So there's a lot of different things out there that are just, you know, for sale, essentially, that most people wouldn't think. But again, don't start getting into the idea of buying and selling guns as a method of business, because unless you're intimately familiar with what you're getting into, you may find you own a lot of parts that are now very expensive, difficult to store, and you will worry about.
Well, here we have a finished Thompson. We could go to the range with this with the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, let's go to the range.
You know, in the getting car.
Of course.
Also, would you like a confession, Tex?
By all means, go ahead, brother.
I have HK firearms.
Okay. Yeah. It doesn't surprise me.
Oh, okay.
I have HK firearms too. I have fallen for the poison. I know better. I was an HK gunsmith. I still own them. I'm like, their customer service line is notional.
I've never
asking HK for parts help is like praying to God to get you off from a triple murder. It's long odds. You know what's really cool about a Thompson's flip peep sights is on the originals, because those are very hopeful sights, let's be honest. But if you look at the original peep sights, it's all Art Deco stenciling and font. Yeah, it's really cool.
They actually stenciled it, like, so they had to like go and create Art Deco stencils specifically for.
And it was a product of its era, and you'll find a lot of exciting stuff in there that's really neat.
Oh, it likes to jump around a bit.
Well, with the cuts compensator, which is what that little bit is on the end of the barrel, and they made them all the way up to rifle, shotguns, everything. It was early muzzle brake and really good. They will climb a little, but if you know what you're doing, they won't. You just got to put a lot of weight on the front foot, stand as instructed, and they work fine. You can get very, very accurate grouping out of a Thompson out to about 50 yards. You just got to not ride it. However, the old axiom I warn people on with a Thompson, especially mine that's tuned a little bit higher in the cyclic rates, I say press for enemy, hold for aircraft.
Press for enemy, hold.
It'll climb quick.
Okay.
Like the trigger, press for enemy, hold for aircraft. It'll climb. But yeah, you can actually flip the sight down because it has a graduated sight on top of it. So you have a close in and further out. Again, the Leafs sights on these are, let's just say hopeful.
I mean, this one goes up to 300 meters.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is you can use a Thompson as an area target gun. That was the concept. Volley firing of machine guns was a very World War I idea. So you'll find artillery sights on like a Maxim gun, and you can crank it out to where it's coming in at like a 30-degree angle.
Interesting. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Well, the idea of that is if you're using these machine guns from behind a hill, you can shoot over a hill. So if your infantry's attacking, the rounds are coming in on the enemy and they can't man their guns and parapets.
Okay.
But what HKs do you own?
So the first one I own has, okay. The first one I owned was, I was trying to get a pistol that I wanted to learn to shoot with. And I just wanted to get like,
sure, yeah. Handgun.
A handgun, comma, one I like.
Sure. Let me guess. You went down one of two tracks.
Mm-hmm.
How long ago did you buy it?
About a year now.
Are you a VP90 guy? Oh, so did you do P30L because you got your John Wick on?
Yes, and that's before I knew that's what John Wick had.
See? Yeah, God, I know HK all too well. It's either I want a striker fired or I don't. I should have said hammer or non, and you're too young to own a USP.
So that was the first one.
You bought a USP. Oh, God.
No, worse.
What?
That's the second.
Please tell me
HK.
you did on. Okay, did you? All right.
I don't own a USP, but I bought another one, and it's worse than a USP.
Okay, I'm listening.
I think you were on the right track.
Right. So, are we talking the squeeze safety guy?
The what?
The squeeze safety
No.
guy. Oh, thank God. You're not in the VP7 crowd. Okay, yeah, those guys are fun, but weird. They usually buy it because they're like, it's what Hans Gruber had at Nakatomi Plaza. And you're just like, scream internally. So what did you buy? I'm curious.
I could give you some clues if you'd like.
Sure.
The best one would be Metal Gear Solid.
Okay, so you bought a SOCOM.
Yes.
Those are actually really nice.
It is.
I don't think it's holding a car battery with a pistol grip.
It is the nicest gun I've ever fired.
the Mark 23s are so scary because, one, they are designed to run suppressed from the get-go. So if you thread the suppressor on there with a Mark 23 and you have the correct suppressor, it's almost Hollywood quiet. You don't need hearing protection. It's pretty bonkers. The other thing that's kind of neat is when they tested these things, the Mark 23s went through like one of the craziest destruction tests, which was they fired them to the lifespan of the gun. Then they took a bullet. They not the whole cartridge, but just the bullet, hammered it into the barrel to obturate the barrel, shot it out, and then it passed the accuracy testing. Like, they overbuilt it that much just to get a special forces contract. They are obsessive. Now, please tell me you do not own the LEM for it.
No, I'm not that rich.
Okay, yeah. The LEM, the module, laser light, everything that goes on a Mark 23 was designed before all this notion of standardizing stuff. So it will not mount to anything but an HK-23.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and there's approximately 4 of them ever in existence in the U.S., and they cost $18 bajillion.
I decided, you know what? Let's see how much it would be to like actually kit this out the way Metal Gear Snake had it.
Yeah.
Or Solid Snake had it. And yeah. I was like, okay, the suppressor. Oh, there's one, and it is $4,000.
I believe you. Absolutely.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, it also had the LEM. Let's see how much the LEM costs. Not available.
Yeah, it's unobtainium. You have to know a guy, and you have to understand HK is absolutely obsessive about protecting its property. So if they sell stuff to a military and the military doesn't want it anymore, they're like, and they'll make sure it's destroyed, or they will buy it back. They do not care to worry about like a civilian market. That's ancillary, if not tertiary, to their concerns. Unless you are a state or national government, they're not interested in talking with you for the most part. Well, and it's not like mean. They don't see you as the pores. It's just not their business.
So the other thing is I had said, okay, let me get a holster for these too. Because, it's like carrying it at a range or something. I don't want to be
sure. Why not?
Always having it in the fucking box. So, grenade game.
Oh, hold on. You need to look behind you, buddy. Oh. Yeah, I wouldn't. You need a clear area. Trust me. You'll make that mistake a time. All right.
Just
nope.
On.
There you go. Not bad. Not bad. Just casually a bombed out Leopard there. No big deal. Leopard 2. Those are everywhere. They use those for shooting targets.
Let's see. I think the way I'm supposed to use this is use the little bottom thing to figure out the range.
Well, yeah. It's designed, if you look at the graduated Soviet range stuff, typically you have a preset, and it will be like the height of a 6-foot tall person at distance. And so you're like, okay, roughly blah. Mm-hmm. And then you know where to put it. It's fairly simple. Yeah, that's how you walk those sights in. Just very simple visual reference. You look at something that you know the height of, and then you just adjust, and that's where you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Soviet sights and stuff like that. Just give you a little. It's like a cheat sheet. And then you know where to adjust, and then you're good. Little short on the BTR-80. So you just put that in there, and then let's just go ahead and adjust, because that looks like a BTR-82A. And wow, talk about expensive. I mean, this looks like right outside Bakhmut right now. Where the fuck are you set your gun shop up at?
It's Don't worry about it. It's somewhere in the world.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think at one point, one of the customers wanted me to mill a new lower for their M4.
Yeah, you can do anything. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's stupid. And it's like, well, you have to ask yourself, what problem is it trying to address, right?
Oh, that was
And
short.
it may not make sense, but different militaries will address the same problem different ways. And how much money you're throwing away per shot? Well, if in the States, each of those, I think, is a Class 10 permit. So you're probably going to be paying $900 plus the cost of munition and manufacturing. And for someone with a pyro license, that's not going to be cheap. So maybe $1,000 to $2,000 a shot, at least civilian safe. Now, if we are not in the United States, depends on where, and it depends on the PG-7V whatever variant you're using. But hold on, let me check. And latest on about $75 a shot. If it's old, and if it's newer, like one of the tandem thermobarics, they could be a few hundred.
Oh, that's downright cheap.
Well, yeah, because it's mass manufactured by everyone. So it's like one of those things you're like, how much is an M16? Not a lot. They've been making them for 60-something years. You can find parts for everything, including machine guns. They're not more expensive on an international arms market. Just about the same, in fact.
But it is getting close to 1 p.m. And I know Halzakar is coming up next with some heck dipping.
Hell yeah! Gotta spread that managed democracy, brother. For
Hell
super
yeah.
earth, super nachos, super chili cheese fries, and super regret.
But thank you, Tex, for joining. I'm sure this was very difficult to watch the bumblefucking of how that's not how you do it.
Well, that's fine, because, look, you can't be mad all the time. You just got to do some energy work, do some breathing, do some, stretches, positive mindset, lots of therapy, because it's a video game trying to teach people about the neat stuff. And if they get it a little wrong, that's okay, because what it does give people is an excitement at things. And it teaches them that if they want to learn more, they can. And I think that things that get people into stuff in a fun way, in a safe way, in a responsible way is good. So, I mean, it's not for me, but it's fine enough. And I think that that's good. It opens that door. And if it helps somebody go, oh, this is interesting, and they see it a different way, that's great.
Yeah, I'll say for me personally, like, I got into firearms because I found the clockwork mechanisms behind them.
Exactly. Oh, God, if you go work on an MP5, you'll have plenty of that.
I mean, I'd love to get an MP5, but they're a bit pricey.
We'll talk after stream. I know some guys.
All right, but stick around, folks, for Halzakar and the continuation of the Subathon.